Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comeback Conversations. And this motherfucker thinks he's funny, huh? He really does think he's funny. You know what I'm saying? Over here looking like one of the Charlo twins. Actually, you look like old buddy off a Scary Movie right now. Tried to fake ass be Eminem on Scary Movie 3. I think it's 3 or whatever the fuck that was.
It's your boy AG, the
This
combat
is your man
connoisseur.
AG, the combat connoisseur. You know what I'm saying? Back again, joined with my duck of a partner right here, Duck Buster. Say what's up to the folks, man.
Do I look like Errol Spence?
Man, look, Errol. Oh, hey, what a way to kick off. Hey, last night was a banger, and Errol Spence been listening to Combat Conversations on everything he has. Exactly did what I had. I don't even want to say predicted because I didn't think he would do it. But my point was he better have done what he did, and we're gonna get into what he did, and more so now than ever. I really feel like Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford is upon us.
You really feel like it's upon us?
I really do, more so than ever. And this is where I will lay my hat down. If it doesn't happen next, if either one of these guys fight somebody else, the fight's not happening.
Yeah. I mean, if there was ever a time for this fight to finally come to fruition, it's right now.
Absolutely.
So, you know, the sanctioning bodies, you know, hey, y'all better not order no mandatories for Spence or Bud. Let these two duke it out.
We have to get this out of the way. This is for too long. The expiration date is coming, and at its point right now, this is as prime as it's ever gonna be. And maybe for the boxing world, hey, look, it was better that we got it now instead of when we did because of all the marbles on the line for the division. It's beautiful. It's made it even better, but it's gotta happen now. Absolutely. So that happened. But since my man's over here been busy, quote unquote, aka ducking on this Combat Conversations, we have got an entire menu of Combat Conversations to go through over this next hour. And we have to start with the early sunrise of my man Triple G. I mean,
how you feeling about your boy?
So my man's, as predicted, got the stoppage, and I'm not gonna say that he looked at his best because we all know he didn't.
No.
But was it impressive enough to make you want to see Triple G Canelo 3?
No, not at all.
So you not interested in seeing it? You know, like what you mean no?
As a boxing fan, yes, I want to see it, but I mean, look, I ain't taking nothing away from Triple G. Started off slow, yes, but as the rounds went on, that jab is still nasty, still disgusting. He looked good, but I feel like the trilogy for that, like, I feel like that's past its due date.
Okay, so Triple G did come out, I don't want to say sluggish, but Murata was landing some shots. And Triple G looked offensively, to me, looked like, same old Triple G, not an old Triple G. The offense was there, the jabs was there like you alluded to. To me, Murata's head was being snapped back. Oh my goodness. Once again, that Triple G jab was there. It really was. Murata's head was just being shook, and you could see, to me, him breaking it down. That's what Triple G's always done. That adds up over time. 5th, 6th, 7th round, you just can't take it anymore. But Murata was also landing some of them body shots, and we talked about it. I think the only round that you could definitively give to Murata was round 3. And he delivered some body shots. After the Sergey fight, when he delivered to the body, something Triple G's body's not the same, and you saw it against Murata. You really did. After he went to the body a few times, that's when you just started to see him and curl up a little bit and kind of protecting that side. But on top of that, offensively, Triple G looked as good as ever, and the chin held up. That's what the thing was too. The chin held up. Even though I think he was a little sore to the body, you could tell it was tender. He went to it, but he took a few shots to the face, and the chin is there. Because we're gonna get to some other old folks here in a second that the chin is gone, aka Gamboa like Amir Khan. But we'll get to that. But can he take some punches from Canelo? You don't want to see that? You think it's?
I mean, like you alluded to, the offense is still there. The jab was still nice. Murata's head was snapping back. I mean, his head looking like, a basketball going up and down off the fucking ground. But the defense, and granted, Triple G was never the most technical fighter to begin with, but
good point.
It's just
defensively,
I don't feel comfortable watching him fight Canelo. I don't want to see him get hurt.
And see, I guess my thought is I don't think he's gonna get hurt like that. I mean, sure, Canelo might win the fight, but we over here talking about like Triple G might end up on a stretcher, when I don't think that's the case. I think Triple G has still got it and shown that he could still deliver an impactful fight against Canelo. So that's just my thought. But on the flip side of that, for boxing reasons, not for Triple G's old or I'm tired of seeing this, or hell, fuck. Triple G to me won both of the first fights. Second one not so, not so far of a margin, but still one could argue he took it home. Not even for all those reasons.
He definitely won the first fight.
For boxing reasons, unify belts, come to divisions, fight guys who you've been calling out for years or been avoiding for years and all this. I would like to see Triple G fight not fight one of the Charlo twins, fight Jamal Charlo. Because I think Jamel's going to get handled by Castaño, which we'll talk about that coming up too. But again, I really do think I would rather Triple G fight Jamal.
You want to see that over him?
I would rather see that over Canelo. Yes.
Again, for boxing reasons.
For boxing reasons. That's my presumption of it. So, but again, I'm also on the side of, if Triple G's gonna fight Canelo, I think he's got a hell of a shot to go in there and do some damage. And we'll see. I know we talk about this like Dimitri Bivol doesn't have a chance against Canelo, and that's how big Canelo is with the stardom. When you can make 2-fight deals like that, it's almost like, oh, is the first one a sure thing? I'm already on to the next contract. Like, right. But I really do. I think Bivol's gonna give him problems.
I mean, honestly, we may not ever get a trilogy. I mean, who knows? Bivol may walk out with the dub.
He might, and spoil all this bullshit.
Bivol, he ain't no fucking walk in the park.
By no means.
So it's like,
I believe he's the best light heavyweight. I really do. I think he's better than Beterbiev, and he's already whooped the shit out of Joe Smith Jr.
So I mean, yeah, like you said, people are talking like it's a sure thing that Canelo is, gonna go through him, and boom, we get the trilogy.
And last week with Triple G being fresh, hot in the news, that's exactly what we did. We immediately started talking about Canelo in that fight as if he's just going to run through Bivol or he's automatically going to be there. And those are the type of things that just make me wonder in the back of my mind. So that kicked off a hell of a Saturday that we had coming up. And fast forward that night, just to keep it on the boxing trail, a fight that I said would be a great fight. We know styles make fights, and Lubin and Fundora lived up to that hype, every bit of it. What a fight. Beginning to end, brawler. Now,
is it fight of the year?
Fight of the year candidate for sure. I mean, definitely when you're talking about entertainment from beginning to end, Lubin didn't have as much trouble with Fundora's height and length that I thought he would. I mean, Fundora did go up in there and do kind of what I thought, use the jab, use his height and everything. But when it came time for Lubin to get in close and land his shots with his much shorter reach and 6 inches shorter, it's almost like he had no problem. And he was landing bombs on Fundora. And Fundora's chin was tested, and his chin passed. He did get knocked down. late in the fight, but with the bombs that was being dropped for that long, for you to hold up that chin pass. You know what I mean? It's not like a one-hitter quitter. You know, in this case,
not like Amir Khan.
Not like Amir Khan, or definitely not like Amir Khan, because he was getting stunned off some jabs. But kind of you know, not to say anybody's chinny, but let's just say like Devin Haney. We giving him shit about when he was just wobbled. So it's like one punch almost had his knees whoa, like he was doing the wobbly dance. But in this case, Fundora took 10 of those throughout the course of 9 rounds. And not once did his legs look wobbly until he started to get hit with that 10th, 11th one, not the first one.
Right.
You know what I mean? So chin check.
Chin check.
And Lubin's face, I think he got his jaw broken, all that. Side of his face looked like a watermelon. Like, you know, it was swelled up.
So it was a broken jaw.
I'm pretty sure it's swelled up. Like, you know, whole side of his face. They was even joking about checking Fundora's gloves. He did the interview with him on. I don't like to get into stuff like that because I don't believe it to be true. But, you know, when you see somebody's face like that, it makes you think.
You know, makes you ask a couple questions.
It just makes you ask a couple questions. But at the same time, Fundora didn't look anywhere remotely like that, and he took some bombs too. So once again, fight of the year candidate. Both guys went out on their shield, but the fight did have to be stopped because, you know, just the way Lubin's face was, he couldn't take too many more shots like that. He couldn't at all. So shout out to that fight. Now that fight was so interesting that it drew my eyes completely off of the snooze fest that your man Ryan Garcia gave against Emmanuel Tegu.
I mean, I told you.
Yeah.
You know, I've been trying to tell everybody, but, you know, everybody wants to make excuses for Ryan because he had a long layoff. But yet, earlier in the morning, Triple G, a 40-something-year-old Triple G,
he's 40.
Also
he's
had
40. He ain't got the something
40.
yet. He ain't got the
40.
He ain't got the something yet. But he's
actually,
definitely 40.
He actually just turned 40.
He did, yeah.
You know,
or if you count the days, but you know he's 40. You
40
know,
and some days.
Don't take another.
Know,
Don't. Yeah.
40 and some change. You know, whatever.
Okay.
But you know, back to what I was saying. You know, a 40-year-old Triple G coming off a long layoff, and you know, against a much better opponent. Because Murata's not a trash can like what Ryan was facing.
Not at all.
He got the mid-round stoppage. So why can a 40-year-old Triple G do that, but a 23-year-old Ryan Garcia can't? And Ryan Garcia is looked at, you know, up there with Lomachenko, up there with Devin Haney, up there with George Kambosos Jr., up there with Tank. I mean, what?
I feel you 100%. That is actually a good point. Like, you know, Murata was much more of a tougher opponent than Emmanuel Tegu could be. And if you go and watch that fight, which I know you're already going to tell me your famous joke, I don't want to go back and watch that fight because it's really not worth watching. That's why a joke always is funny. But before you hit me with that, Emmanuel Tegu did not come to win that fight. He just came to collect a payday and not get embarrassed on TV. And he took 2 good shots. He got knocked down in the 3rd, I believe, and then somewhere along like the 9th or the 10th round, he took another good shot and wobbled him and had him doing the stanky leg. But he was in there to survive. He wasn't trying to beat Ryan Garcia by no means.
No. And, you know, it's, hey, I'm going to get paid and I'm going to try to survive and not get embarrassed on national television.
I mean, that's it, you know, and Murata being much more of a tougher opponent, like you said, Triple G also coming off a long layoff. Older guy. Where Ryan Garcia, your over and under in Vegas was like 4.5. You know, even if you don't put on a good performance, you're supposed to get him out of there in 8, 9. You drug him the whole distance. And they're going to talk about, oh, you know, obviously, long layoff, new trainer. Fucking Joe Goosen. What is Joe Goosen doing? That's why...
I told you he's a yes man. I feel like Ryan left Eddie Reynoso, like he left Canelo's camp because they were not being yes men. They were not telling him what he wanted to hear. They weren't gonna spray perfume over the bullshit and tell him, hey, you're this. Like, no, you gotta come in, you gotta work every day, you gotta get better. I feel like that's why he actually lost. I don't feel like he left for the reasons that he stated. I feel like he went for a trainer who's a yes man, who's willing to tell him everything he wants to hear. And y'all can think I'm crazy all you want, but the proof is in the pudding. We're watching it in his fights.
My thing with Joe Goosen is, I guess being on TV, he done got, a little celebrity in him. I guess he's a namesake. Like, you see, again, how somebody dresses doesn't mean anything. But when Joe Goosen coming out looking fresh to death, well, with the green shirt on, with the stitches on it, like, doesn't matter how he was dressed. Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna put it out there that he looked fresh to death, dripping nice attire. That's not what a trainer's supposed to bring. Just bring the regular overcoat with the colors on it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. And I feel like that points out to exactly what you're talking about, what type of person Joe Goosen is. I guess he's there for some shine too. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but regardless, Ryan Garcia put on a sleeper. Didn't perform like he should.
Call that bitch NyQuil.
Exactly. So we lucky that another great fight was on that night. They kept us up because Ryan Garcia would have put us straight to sleep.
Shit.
Would Tank Davis put him straight to sleep if he fought him next?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Ryan's not like that. I know, like, back when me and you first started kicking it, I ain't gonna lie, at one point I was on the Ryan Garcia bandwagon, and I was making excuse after excuse, and to the point it just like can't defend you anymore.
Right, but again, I get excuses aside. That's we argue about somebody's personality outside the ring all the time. But what about skill inside the ring? Are you not feeling? You don't think he's developed enough to be ready for a Tank? Honestly, after that Emmanuel Tegu fight, let's say 5 months from now, who you taking? Because Tank's gonna fight Raleigh, which how he performs in that will essentially also, we're overlooking. But we both think he'll take care of Raleigh. What do you think he would do with Ryan Garcia 5 months from now?
I think he would toy with Ryan Garcia. I think Ryan Garcia has loads of potential. I feel like he could really be something at 135. But I feel like he's just, I don't want to say he's squandering his talent, but he's not living up to his full potential.
No, I guess the desire he says it's there, and hey, it is what it is. Again, we take it at face value, but with the social media presence and all that stuff, it's almost like that we don't feel he is taking it serious. That's why many are not on board with him on all the things he does. And hey, getting dropped by Eddie Reynoso and Team Canelo kind of alludes to our point of maybe he wasn't putting in the work like he should. And that's the fact of the matter. So that leads us into this weekend, April 16th. Had a hell of a day, had 4 boxing events on, had a boxer event, little lightweight series I kept my eyes on. Hey, I like those little tournament things. They pick 8 boxers and do a tournament bracket style. Each of them fight 3 rounds, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, and you crown a king. You crown a champ, I should say. Like, it's pretty cool. It's quick, fast pace, and you gotta get ready for a couple styles. You beat a guy in 3 rounds, your next fight is against another guy for 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I mean, that was pretty nice. I like those little boxing series.
You think more promotions are gonna follow suit and do that shit?
I don't think so. I think it'll be a unique thing because none of these guys, all of them are like within 10 fights. There's some 2-0s, 3-0s, 7-1s. I seen one of them like 15-2. So they not getting cream of the crop, but it's definitely talented boxers. It's quality boxing. Boxer ain't here to fuck around. Boxer ain't here putting on no.
I never said boxer was like that. Don't go and be putting words in my mouth now, AG. Don't be doing that.
Well, I'm not saying that you saying that. I'm saying that you saying it was like that. I'm just fucking with you. But no, boxer, is not, they not here to put on no bullshit. Boxers here to put on quality boxing. But at the same time, when they put on these little series, I think they pretty cool. Queensberry had a promotion on BT Sport. Another great fight. I was keeping my eye on that one. But the main two that we only really cared about was that Matchroom and that PBC. Okay? So, 2 welterweight headliners. Let's just go ahead and get the young prospect out the way. Conor Benn.
Bro, the way Devin Haney is rubbing off you, same way Conor Benn's rubbing off me. I like me some Conor Benn.
I think Conor Benn, you put him right there with the other two, Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis. Okay, that's it. That's the top 3 dogs. So you see, I tweeted out, we gonna get to it with Errol Spence and Ugas, but what's next for Conor Benn? He ain't got a title. You got to get that man his title shot. All the belts are tied up between 2 guys. That's it. What's next for Conor Benn? Because we know what we want, so he's got to stay busy.
I guess you can go for a title eliminator. Something. Maybe one more big fight.
Do you have to weave it out with these 3? Do you wait? Do each one of these 3 get their individual title shots? Should it be like that? Or should those 3 duke it out? Add a 4th in the mix? Keith Thurman?
I mean, you could do that, but I mean, like what we touched on earlier, like Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, that shit needs to happen. So, these matchmakers, they gotta get on it. They, promotion. Something's gotta give for this fight to happen.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. We know what has to give for that fight to happen. And Conor Benn went up in there against Van Herten, who had fought Boots Ennis into that no contest, and went up in there and just dismantled him in 2 rounds. Wasn't even close. Wasn't even a fight. And we know Van Herten is no slouch. Lost to Errol Spence Jr. But again, when you 28-2 and you showing that, okay, he's a gatekeeper. The only ones he's losing to essentially is the tops.
Yeah.
Is the champs. And within a 12-year run.
But I mean, he got that gatekeeper out, and
he got the gatekeeper out. We won't even. We really don't want to say Van Herten's a trash can by no means. But if you want to put him in that category, he took it out anyway.
And you got guys out here who don't take out the trash, and they're either getting a title shot or more. I mean, bro, give Conor Benn his title shot.
Well, again,
I know.
You got to think of the circumstances. So that's it. You just give him in his title shot like that.
I would say he would get the winner. I mean, if
you ain't gonna make him sort it out with these other young guys.
Do you think he needs to?
I think they all need to. I mean, we talk about the main knock on Boots. His resume's not there. He's not beaten.
Okay, so then we go back to a title eliminator against Boots.
Hey, I'm all for it. I mean, who you think is the best of those 3 though? Because we've already narrowed it down. We know it's those top 3. That's it. You got Virgil Ortiz, Boots, and you got Conor Benn. Okay? Who's the top dog of those 3?
I really like Boots, but I like Conor Benn.
Okay.
I like Conor Benn.
You think Conor's top on that one? Because I like me some Boots too. But he gets hit a lot. But he delivers. And he knows how to get that jab out there. If he could work on a little bit of his defense prowess, Boots can be a serious top 3 pound for pound guy in the game. I think he's that talented offensively. But he's got to tweak some things on defense before, to me, he can actually get in the ring with one of these elite level guys, a.k.a. Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. So Conor Benn made a statement. And for you to say that, no, I can't even, no argument here. Conor Benn put on a performance even for me to make me say he's arrived. And Conor Benn is among the tops. Hey, put him in with Ugas. Put him in with Keith Thurman. Like, get these guys out the way. Right. Because we have a date with Bud and Spence. And we all want to go to that. And we got to get this sorted out for all the belts. So I think here's what we need to remember. When we talk about the welterweight division outside of Spence and Bud for the next couple months, we have to start thinking title eliminators. We can't keep saying all these guys deserve their title shot. Let Bud and Spence do their thing, and these guys have got to sort it out to see who could, because we know them two have emerged as the top two.
Without question.
Without question.
Without question.
So we have to get used to mixing in these young guys. And I'm saying young, you know, Keith Thurman's not necessarily young. And you got some other, Ugas, who I still think is a severe player at 147. You got to start throwing these guys in the mix together. You got 5, 6, 7 deep. Is Mikey Garcia still in it? I think he moved down. Danny Garcia still in it.
I would say
that 147 is really deep.
I would say for Conor Benn, and I even think you sent a tweet out, like if Ugas can get healthy and get back, I feel like that would be a really good test for Conor Benn.
Yeah, that really would be.
That's what I prefer. But I think what's more reasonable is a title eliminator with Boots or Keith Thurman or some of these other young guys.
Virgil Ortiz. There's a lot of players in the game at 147, and that mix needs to be sorted out underneath, because once Bud and Spence handle their business, who's gonna be the first one in line to either fight the winner of that one? You know, there's a lot that can be done between now and then, but essentially that has to be mixed up too. We can't just keep saying one of these guys gets a shot at it, and there's a lot going on with that. So to move on to the PBC card, another good PBC card. Now, I want to point something out here. This I thought was kind of funny. My man Vito Mielnicki Jr., who I believe PBC was trying to promote behind, and he headlined the card on Christmas. Vito Mielnicki has been televised a few times. But yet Vito Mielnicki got put on the untelevised portion of the undercard before the pay-per-view event. What happened there? Now all of a sudden Vito Mielnicki's not television worthy. I know that I don't want to say fell asleep, but that Christmas Day card wasn't necessarily fireworks. It was great. Go back and check the episode of Combat Conversation. Did 2 million views. It was great.
Okay, so
but Joey Spencer's the real deal, and Vito Mielnicki's the one that they feel like they got it wrong. But to go from untelevised, I just thought that was funny.
Well, I mean, you know, it's kind of like you touched on it once, you know, when we was talking about Masvidal, Conor, you know, Nate Diaz, guys that don't really win or not, like, bro, money it's everything. They would much rather go with whatever sells as opposed to what they actually need to promote.
Yeah, and I don't know. So PBC made that decision. So I just thought it was funny because I like Vito Mielnicki, and I would have loved to seen him. Didn't get a chance to see him because he's on the untelevised portion. So that moves us to the parts we did see. Brandon Lee, another good prospect. Like me some Brandon Lee. Again, defense needs to get. He fought somebody who definitely Ochoa. Ochoa's not that guy. But Brandon Lee went up in there and did some severe damage on him. He survived it. Ochoa was in there to survive. But Brandon Lee's a nice little prospect to look out for too. He throws in 1-2s. I like me some Brandon Lee. And that led us to Stanionis and Butayev as the main event on the undercard on the televised portion of Showtime Championship Boxing, the non-pay-per-view portion. I know what their thought process was before we get to the details of what happened in this fight, because this was actually a very, very good fight. Why they didn't put this as the co-main event on the pay-per-view card. This was essentially, which we hope will be cleaned up here soon, and it will. Eventually, it will. They promise they'll clean it up. They've done a lot to get the ball rolling, but there is, like we talked about before, the WBA is not getting in the way of a good thing in certain divisions, okay? So kudos to them. But the WBA has the regular belt and the super belt. Butayev is the WBA regular champion. Okay, now they was having this little thing, Ugas was supposed to fight Stanionis. Stanionis stepped aside so Ugas could fight Spence, and Stanionis took the Butayev fight. Now,
I mean, maybe he got a nice little fee, step aside money.
We know. We say there's no step aside money, but essentially we know what it was, more lucrative things on the back end. So anyway, this fight was promoted WBA World Championship, which essentially it is, but to not mock the WBA for doing this is a title fight. And you didn't put it as the co-main event. They used it as a tactic on regular Showtime to get people to buy the pay-per-view. We know that's what they did. But essentially, I feel like the fight was so good that it should have been on the pay-per-view card. It really should have been. And Butayev is a good fighter, but Amantis Stanionis is another real deal contender at 147. We just talked about that for about 5 minutes and really didn't even mention him.
I mean, the welterweight division's deep.
147 is deep, and Stanionis is right there. Again, we know it's them three that have separated themselves, but
he's right on their heels.
Stanionis is right on them heels of Ortiz, Boots, Conor Benn. Stanionis is the real deal. He could deliver and he could take. He's fought, but now he has the resume. I believe Stanionis has worked his way up and fought the much better guys than the other three. But the eye test would lean us to the other three. But again, we talk about Boots as high as he is. He's fighting trash cans, but taking out the trash. Stanionis is in tough fights with real deal guys, and he's beating them. But he's not looking like he's owns the world.
He's not beating them convincingly.
Right. No, he's beating them convincingly, but he's not getting the knockouts in the second and third round like you should a trash can.
Right.
Knockouts sell.
Well, I mean, if he's going up against, much better competition as opposed to what the original three are going through.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would necessarily get penalized for that.
And a few of them has had some crossover guys, but it's like how you defeat them too. So Stanionis to me has the better resume of them. But Stanionis and that Butayev, he'll toe-to-toe, center of the ring, and they delivered. Stanionis, great counterpunching, man. His shots were so effective, going to the body and leading with the body shot and then coming with the right hook. He was doing damage to Butayev, but Butayev is just one tough cookie. Kept delivering. Stanionis was more accurate and more active. And it was clear. I think Al Farhood rode him a little hard. I think he literally only gave Butayev 1 round, 2 rounds.
Right.
When let's just be honest, you probably could have gave him 4, 5, 7, 5, and that's really being conservative. But again, Stanionis just proved that he's on another level.
So you think he's getting like a raw deal, basically?
Yeah. But at the same time, he got that Canelo treatment from Farhood. Like they really hyped him up to be something. Like he won 11 of all 12 rounds when he might have won 7, maybe 8. When we still won, So that should have been on the pay-per-view card. Then we slide into the pay-per-view card, and then you got another young prospect, Valenzuela. That knockout was vicious.
The LG&E man came to collect that night.
Right, but let's not forget, he's fighting a 100-year-old fighter. But again, Valenzuela's another guy that he's fought on a few undercards. I think he's even fought on regular primetime television, Fox, when PBC's put him on. Great show. Valenzuela is a young prospect to look out for. And he also delivered like he should have. Then you got Cody Crowley.
I like Cody Crowley.
Man, Cody Crowley's nice. I don't dislike him. I like his style and stuff like that. But he reminds me of Caleb Plant. Like, just...
Really?
Yeah. His style a little bit, the way he talks, and just something about his aura that just kind of reminds me of Caleb Plant. And then I think once Cody Crowley, who I also believe is in the welterweight division, something's gonna something's gonna give, and I
You-
think
you-
it's,
you
I
don't
think it's
think
gonna
he-
be his chin.
You don't think he's going to be up there with, Conor Benn and the
No,
rest?
no, no, not Cody Crowley. His hand speed isn't elite level.
Do you think he'll be a trash can or a gatekeeper?
He'll be a gatekeeper.
Gatekeeper.
He's not a trash can. He's, iron sharpens iron. He's sparred with Floyd before. The defense is there. Like I said, the style, I don't think his chin will hold up once he actually fights a guy who knows how to punch and start landing them shots. But his hand speed's not really there. His punches don't really do too much damage. I feel like, I ain't saying the guy can't punch, but I'm not putting too much stock into Cody Crowley. I like him, but I don't.
I mean, I just like them. It's not like
I feel you.
Like, oh man, this is the next best thing at 140. Like, no.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. So then that leads us in the co-main event. Isaac Cruz, Reese fresh off a loss to Tank versus Yordenis Gamboa, aka Gandalf.
So Dumbledore got knocked out. Now it's about to be Gandalf.
Right. You want to talk about age and punch resistance?
You want to talk about your chin giving out?
That was just another prime example of why many fans say this about old fighters, and it's more evident. Man, kudos to Triple G once again for getting them shots in, taking them shots like that, and still being able to deliver. Because Yordenis Gamboa is another prime example of how an old fighter gets in there with a young guy, takes
It's
one
not gonna
shot.
end well.
It's not ending well. Takes one shot, and them legs give out, and you see them Tweety birds start flying.
I mean, I'm pretty sure like in one round he had CTE, the next round he had a concussion, the next round he had dementia, and then the round he gets knocked out in, he gets Alzheimer's.
Now, reports have it that Oscar De La Hoya offered Isaac Cruz a smooth meal to fight Ryan Garcia. Now, we talked about Ryan Garcia earlier, and you over here mumbling and shit, all that bullshit. I don't know, Ryan Garcia over here, he just didn't look good to me, you know what I'm saying? Man, fuck all that bullshit. If he fights Isaac Cruz coming up, who we know Tank kind of handled a little bit, what's your predictions on Ryan Garcia handling Isaac Cruz? Because forget Gamboa, that was...
So you think Ryan's handling? You think Ryan's handling Isaac Cruz?
What?
You think Ryan Garcia is gonna handle Isaac Cruz?
I don't know if he handles him, but I'd pick Ryan Garcia over Isaac Cruz. I would take Ryan Garcia over Isaac Cruz if they fought in his next fight.
By what? Decision?
Yeah, because Ryan Garcia is not gonna go up in there and try to bang with him. You know what I'm saying? Ryan, if he went up in there to survive, if he's not knocking out Emmanuel Tegu, he's not knocking out Isaac Cruz.
Well, no shit.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So I would still pick him on a decision though, kind of like Tank did. Tank didn't knock out Pitbull. But we talked about what Tank delivered that fight, and Tank showed some sweet science. I'm not saying how sweet it was, but he definitely didn't go up in there like he did against Leo Santa Cruz and against Barrios. He didn't knock him out. He went up in there and actually kind of boxed Isaac Cruz.
I mean, I don't even think it would be a unanimous decision. I would think be split, majority. I think it would be a lot closer.
I get what you're saying, because you talked about how you alluded to you believe Tank would beat Ryan Garcia, and Tank didn't put away Cruz by no means. You know, it was a battle. And Isaac Cruz coming back against Gamboa, against the mini Amir Khan, and just lit his chin up early, took out the trash. And Gamboa's not trash, but the chin is. The chin's trash. And he did exactly what he needed to do. So Isaac Cruz, hey, I don't mind seeing Ryan Garcia.
Think it's gonna happen?
I think that would happen before the Tank fight, yeah. Because I think Ryan Garcia would get his own, like you said, unanimous split decision against Cruz, and then I believe that would set up, after Tank handles Raleigh, that would set up a Tank Garcia fight. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That's a top fight. Lightweight division is deep too.
In a perfect world, that sounds like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. But even then, I feel like Ryan's not gonna fight Isaac Cruz.
You think Ryan's gonna take a easy route until he gets title shots? Because
Yep.
I mean,
I
don't know.
Until otherwise.
Yeah, because we all know the lightweight division is going for the undisputed. Tank has a belt, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Push that aside. He's got the regular belt. Forget all that bullshit. We know the undisputed is going down. So again, just like we alluded to with the welterweight, the lightweight we got to let Devin Haney and George Kambosos sort that out. These guys at the bottom in the lightweight division got to start emerging. These guys got to start sorting it out to see who's top dog to come out of that, who can get that shot at that undisputed.
Title eliminators.
Title eliminators. That's the phrase of the quarter for the rest of the year. I mean, if we gonna have a lot of undisputed fights, which we always asking for more undisputed fights, more unification bouts, because we always mad that these champions get to tout themselves around and yet not fight other champions. So if we're gonna get more unification bouts and one guy's gonna have all the belts, then the other guys have got to start fighting what?
Title eliminators.
Oh, you fucked it up. Title eliminators. So again, we'll talk about the lightweight division as that advances on. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's hop on this train right here. Here it is. Errol Spence Jr. handled business against Ugas and called out Terrence Bud Crawford right after the fight. Errol Spence been listening to Combat Conversations.
Oh, has he now?
Oh, he has to. What did I say? And just what I said. He knew he wouldn't be able to escape the question, but when it came down to it, like a G, he handled his business. He didn't dance around that question. He got to it first. He said, Terrence Crawford, I'm coming for that belt. He didn't dance around it. I'm trying to be undisputed. I could say a dozen things to dance around that question. He went straight to the point. He said, Terrence Crawford, I'm coming for that motherfucking belt. And that's it.
And then you got Terrence Crawford responding on Twitter like, all right, let's go. Let's fight.
That's it. No more other side of the street talk.
So, I mean, like you said, like we touched on earlier, if there was ever a time for this fight to come to fruition,
yes, and
right
maybe boxing was the powers that be let it last this long for this reason. This is it. I mean, we can't get any more hype. It has got to happen now. Errol Spence, when they talked it in the past, he said he was going to collect all the belts, and I'll meet you when I come and get that last belt. He said he would. Man of his word, called him out. He gained some respect with me. But before we get into that, let's talk about the fight. First round. I thought Ugas came out and won that first round.
Same.
Now, Errol Spence was active, like he always is. One of the most active boxers in boxing. Throws that jab, one of the best jabs. Got a 4.5-inch reach advantage. Basically happened how I would have broke it down. His jab was there and it was winning him the rounds. But I tell you what, Ugas, his counters was nasty.
Disgusting.
He was landing flush shots on Errol Spence.
Most definitely.
I seen many tweets. I heard the murmurs. Bringing up the murmurs word again. I heard the murmurs. Errol Spence is being exposed. Look, defensively, showing when's the best time for him to get hit and get hit flush. And what do we always say about Bud? His timing. He may not be the biggest power puncher in the game, but his timing and his punches being accurate.
His accuracy alone.
But when to throw them shots, when you most vulnerable, when your arms are extended and you not curled up. Now, Ugas didn't fall apart by no means, but started to become a shell of himself.
As the rounds went on, he didn't do anything.
No, and I gave him one of the rounds. I gave 10-10, but aside from the 6. I had given him another round that he was successful in. And again, as great of a performance as that was for Errol Spence that we're going to look back on, Ugas had his opportunities to really open up on Errol Spence and start to do some damage. And he just didn't push on the gas.
He didn't let them hands fly.
Was it the hands? He was, there's a few reasons why you could say he was inside that shell. Was the jabs getting to him? The eye is a factor. He started catching punches.
Do you think he choked like the moment was too big?
maybe that could be one too. But I just feel like we didn't see the same Ugas against Pacquiao, who was willing to let that jab go. And again, I go back and watch it, which this is a good fight to go back and watch. This ain't one of them jokey jokes that you be fucking with. I don't want to watch this shit. Nah, this is a fight.
I wasn't going to say that.
I know you wouldn't, but I'm just saying too that this will be one of them fights that we go back and look on very soon and watch the highlights.
Like, early on, it wasn't like Spence was just running away with the fight.
No, not at
all. Early rounds, like, these were some close-ass rounds.
They was very close.
But it's like, as the fight went on, I don't know if he got tired. I don't know if it was the eye. I don't know what it was. But it's like, he just became a punching bag for Spence. He didn't do anything.
He didn't deliver back. And what I was going to allude to was, go back and watch it. There is many instances, and I mean many, you can count them on hands each round, less and less as the fight went on, but early on, to you, like you said, Ugas was having success. But let's get to the mouthpiece part. A nice time shot that knocked Errol Spence's mouthpiece out. Now, you should know that if your mouthpiece, I'm sure he's watched way more boxing than we watch. You get your mouthpiece knocked out, you don't bend over to pick it up.
No.
And that's the thing. He wasn't ready to protect himself, and Ugas caught him with some good shots. Now, again, he caught him off guard, off balance, but I feel like the mouthpiece getting knocked out shows that it was a time punch that Ugas was having success with, and that's the round to me, the 7th round on. After the mouthpiece got knocked out and he got hit, Errol Spence flipped the switch. And Ugas went into more of a shell of himself, and Errol Spence just started unloading on him. And Errol Spence looked good. Take it for what it is. Ugas is no slouch. Not the Ugas we thought we was going to see. Not the Ugas I wanted to see.
But, I mean, Spence came back, faced adversity, looked good.
Yeah.
Jab, fucking disgusting.
Yeah,
those uppercuts were even more brutal.
Yeah,
I mean,
he over here pulled a Canelo over here on that Billy Joe Saunders. Apparently, he's got a broken orbital. But it looked like it.
Yeah,
it most definitely does look like it. So, real quick, let's just, before we cap it off, get to some MMA. Errol Spence Jr. calling out Terrence Crawford. It's now or never.
This is it.
This is now or never, and we're gonna get into who we like, and there's gonna be so much talk. We're not gonna be able to stop talking about that over the next 6 months until that fight happens. So, kudos to boxing. Phenomenal 2 weeks. Let's get into some MMA here. UFC 273, top 3 fights. Let's get into the first one. My man Shamav.
Real deal.
Real deal?
Real deal.
Now, before we get into it, I know he's real deal. Now, did he have an underperformance by the hype that he has? Or do we need to put a little bit more respect on Gilbert Burns' name?
I think it's a little of both, because, and I think it was the post-fight presser that Dana White does after every card. You know, he talked about how he had conversations with Darren Till. Darren Till has been training with Khamzat Chimaev. And as hard as he goes in training, you know, there are some things you just can't prepare for. And this was his first big fight. And you got to think, this was arguably, if not the most anticipated fight on the card, and it wasn't even the co-main event or the main event.
No, it was chief support, the third fight, third to last. Yeah.
And it was the most anticipated fight on the card.
One could argue.
So it's like, as much training as you do, you know, yeah, he tore, you know, before Gilbert Burns, he tore through, you know, everybody, taking out the trash, whatever. But it's like, when you're going up against the number 2 ranked welterweight in the world, I mean, who knows how much sleep he got the night before, how much, you know, pre-fight jitters he made. Like,
yep.
I'm not worried. I think moving forward, you know, when it comes to, you know, having these main events, these big fights, I feel like he'll be able to handle it a lot better. I think he passed with flying colors. And hey, respect to Gilbert Burns.
I feel the same way too, because that's the reason I asked. The reason we talking about it is because we know how much hype we give Shamav, and he's almost kind of been making a statement in these wins. Again, resume's not deep, but he's taking out the trash. Finally, he fights the number 2 guy in the division and puts on a good enough performance to get the dub. And nobody's questioning it. But it was a very close fight.
Oh, very.
So
it
that's
was
why
1-1 heading into the third. I mean,
Gilbert Burns, ultimately, even if people are not willing to say it, it's got to be a question. Does he deserve some respect and is a top dog in that division? A chief guy who could cause some problems. Let's just say, for instance, if they had a run it back rematch, do you think Shamav wins a wider margin, or you think Gilbert Burns closes that gap and could get a dub?
I think if they fight again,
running back rematch, not fight again. Okay, 2-3 fights now and blah blah blah. Running back rematch.
Right after this fight.
Don't the next UFC that ain't announced, 279 or whatever, some shit.
I mean, even then, I still feel like the second fight, Kazmat Shamav, he's gonna be a lot more technical. He's not gonna take as many chances. I think he kind of mentioned it after the fight. He kind of underestimated Burns a little bit. Like, I feel like it's going to be more technical, more sound, more clean, if that makes sense.
That's why I said a little bit more definitive of a win.
Right.
Yeah, because essentially Gilbert Burns would learn a lot too, so maybe he could step it up, but you essentially answered the question. So that was a fight that basically...
That's
like you said, it wasn't the co-main of the main, but yet the most anticipated fight of the night. But you heard me say it 2 or 3 times when you said that a second ago. One could argue. So you told me when we walked into the studio, you have yet to turn in your Aljamain Sterling apology card.
Because I don't need to.
Formally, you know how a lot of these mail-in rebates, there's a few ways you can get online, you can mail it in, blah, blah, blah. You can go ahead and say your piece on Combat Conversations right here, right now, and that apology form will count the same. Now,
I don't owe an apology.
Now, I know you was high on some Peter Yan in that division, and at one point, I do remember I believe you said that Yan will just get his paper champion ass out of there. And that's not what happened.
No, it didn't. And I can admit that, but I still feel like I don't owe an apology because I still think Peter Yan, despite the loss, I still think he's the best at 135.
Okay. And, I believe, too, that Yan won that fight, so I'm not going to, pile it on too much. But essentially, back to what we just said, talk about close fights and stuff, I will say that Yan didn't handle him the same way that we thought he would.
Well, I mean, if you go back and look at the first fight, even in that round, in the first fight, like Aljamain Sterling, he won that round. Like, it wasn't until over the course of the first fight, that Petr Yan started to take over and really dominate Aljamain Sterling before, of course, he lost his title, DQ, knee, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not going to say the same thing happened, but in a way it kind of did. The first round, that's where you're going to decide your winner. I think Yan did a little bit more. Obviously, the judges disagreed. Rounds 2 and 3, all Sterling. And then championship rounds 4 and 5, it was all Yan.
That was a fight that, could have been swung either way. And we talk about those fights all the time. If you at least recognize that it could be a swing round, because, we in the judging fights, and especially me and yourself, we always recognize when we judge fights, even though we'll pick who we think won the round, we'll make a little note that it was definitely a swing round. So if somebody wants to pick the other guy to give him that 10-9, we not gonna be mad at it. We believe the other guy did enough to win, but that's where the difference of opinion comes in, and we willing to say, hey, look, that was definitely a swing round. So that was a fight that was good as a co-main, but wasn't one of them fights that Shamav and Gilbert Burns had just had. You know, it was that one was a lot on the ground and stuff like that. So, you know, but all in all, Aljamain Sterling did get some brownie points with a lot of fans who might be looking for another fight, looking for his defense. We'll be looking for him to get knocked out soon.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, he said put some respect on his name while we at it. So, but you know who definitely deserves some respect on his name?
Volkanovski.
My man Volkanovski. They already, a lot of people putting him top 2 pound for pound.
No disagreement.
Top deuce. And I believe when we had went through kind of our UFC top pound for pound rankings, I had talked about him being up there at number 3 and 4, right in that area. This was when we were talking about Cyril Gane and Francis,
right,
where they were at. And then I told you Volkanovski was definitely in my top 5. And I believe a little while later, you went and looked up the official rankings as far as UFC goes.
Mm-hmm.
And Volkanovski against the Korean Zombie, who,
I mean, he just showed that there's levels
to the game.
And Korean Zombie, he looked like he didn't belong in there.
Yeah, he did not belong in there.
And
with
Korean
a top
Zombie's not really a trash can.
No.
I mean, he's well respected, you know, in the UFC and MMA, but
Tougher
it's
than
like, bro, Herb Dean saved his life.
He did, essentially. And, you know,
and
hey,
you could have argued that he should have called the fight a round earlier.
Maybe. But you know, hey, look, these guys know what they sign up for. On top of, he was consciously defending himself, but at what cost and how much punishment do you allow a guy to take?
Right.
And we've talked about it before, you know, plenty of stoppages we talk about. You know, the Ugas stoppage with the eye, Sean Porter stoppage against Bud. It's a lot of stoppages that we talk about whether or not should have been. And yet we've seen guys that just take straight beatings, like old buddy who fought the Sugar Show just took a beating. That was one of them fights.
But kept coming back.
Yeah,
like
consciously defending himself. Yeah, he's not going away like a gnat at a barbecue, just bugging the fuck out you. So that UFC event was really, really good. It was really good. And this week, right before on Friday, we had a highly, highly anticipated return of AJ McKee on Bellator. Bellator again, shout out to Bellator. Bellator is always putting on good cards.
For real.
Really good. And I tell you what, they selling out events. And this card was very good. So your boy fought on got the no decision. That cut was pretty nasty against a top pound for pound guy in Bellator, the light heavyweight champ.
Right.
But Cody Anderson, that's another good fight. It was great until I learned something. I don't know if this is definitely a Bellator rule. I don't know how it goes. So you know how boxing after 4 rounds, it's official. In Bellator for that matter, the 4th round has to start for it to be official.
Right.
And this one got stopped by the cut with like 10 seconds left in the 3rd round. So the fight was a no contest.
So I think in MMA, like if you're doing a 3-round fight, you got to do, I think, the start of the 3rd round, and then if the stoppage happened, they go to the cards, and then when you're doing a 5-round fight, I think you still got to do the start of the 3rd round, but they might do the start of the 4th round.
Well, I know Bellator, I just explained it to you. That's it. It has to start the 4th round.
Right.
Yeah, so in this case, you have to go a full 3. So say, for instance, you know, it happens 3 would have ended, and then they stop it in the middle, don't count because 4 has to start. But essentially, let's talk about AJ McKee. He definitely disappointed.
Pulled a Teofimo Lopez.
Or
just failed.
He did just fail. Or he was fighting the GOAT of that division in Bellator. Pitbull is a motherfucking beast. And let's put some respect on his name. If he would have beat AJ the first time, I'm not even sure we would have a rematch. We may, but I guess to my point is that Pitbull was so respected and he's so he was dominating everybody else that it probably was like, Pitbull just got another victory. No need for him to get a rematch against McKee. But yeah, AJ McKee is legit, but he underperformed.
Well, I mean, we're not taking away nothing from Pitbull. I mean, he went in, executed. I mean, the first round, those leg kicks were devastating. AJ wasn't checking those. Like, those leg kicks were seriously disgusting.
Yeah.
And, of course, the second round, again, all Pitbull. And then the third round, that's where AJ clearly dominated. That was his round.
Yep.
No, I take that back. The third round, that was a close. That could have been argued as a swing round.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and check because I got my card, but I don't have it right in front of me right now.
No, but I think that was where Pitbull he almost had the guillotine locked in.
Yeah, there was for a second. Oh yeah, right. I remember that ground control on that one. Yeah, because AJ McKee was controlling the fight for like 2-3 minutes, and then Pitbull slipped in and started for about a good 30 seconds, if not a little longer.
Right.
We thought AJ McKee was finished. And he slipped out. Good athleticism on his part on that.
And that's what made that round as a swing round. And then round 4, I believe it was Pitbull, and then round 5, it was AJ.
Yep.
So that third round, again, kind of like what we talked about earlier with Sterling and Jan, those swing rounds, it's just a matter of opinion.
Yeah, well, that's when we get them swing rounds, you know what the other guy did to potentially win the round. But at this point, it's just like who you think was a little bit more effective. Maybe who was a little bit more efficient. Who you would lean towards give that round to. Sometimes, and you've seen it plenty of times on my scorecard, I did it with Errol Spence Ugas, and I'm not ashamed to do it at least once, maybe twice in a great fight. Go 10-10. Both guys did enough to get to 10 points that round, and yeah. So,
but in the same sense, though, I feel like AJ wasn't 100% focused like he was the first go around with Pitbull. Because I think you sent me a link from Twitter or from Bleacher Report, and he's over here talking about how, he's going to be like Thanos. It's going to be inevitable that he's going to fight Max Holloway and be a champ in the UFC. Like, that's just completely disregarding Pitbull and looking past him.
It was. And look what happened.
Took that out.
Yeah, and it wasn't even against a guy who really who did nothing to ever deserve that slander.
Right.
To be overlooked.
But I'm not going to sit here and say, AJ's trash. I still like him. I think he's going to bounce back from it. I think this will be a learning experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, he failed this test.
So last but not least, you'd be interested in seeing AJ McKee Pitbull 3?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Because you got to think like, even though we're sitting here and we're saying he failed, according to the judges, it was a close fight. I could see why.
We saw it was a close fight. There's no,
yeah,
Pitbull won that fight, but
right.
Yeah.
But you can't be too mad for someone saying, hey, AJ won or whatever. But
yeah, so that was the powers that be. So we know he ain't ready for those yet, but it's anxious to see what he does going forward. Before we get out of here, let's make a little small, quick 60-second prediction on Tyson Fury, Dillian White, upcoming this week.
Man, I want to say knockout, but I think Tyson's going to come in a little slimmer than he did against Deontay Wilder. I think he's going to try to, be slick, box off the back foot, hit him with the jabs. So I think it's going to be Tyson Fury, winner by UD.
Okay, and I'm going Tyson Fury stoppage, 10th round.
10th round?
Yeah, no later than 10, inside 10, even 8 or 9, but I say about the 10th, kind of late like Wilder. So Tyson Fury, like you said, I think he's going to just wear him down, break him down, land some good shots, and I think Dillian White's chin is not what David Haye makes it out to be. So I think Tyson Fury's going to land.
That's a hater.
Yeah, he's always going against Tyson Fury. But Fury's going to land them shots, break him down. Tyson Fury stopped all that bullshit to make me really mad at him and dislike him. I hope he gets the dub. I want to see Tyson Fury go out like that on the Shield if this is his last fight. So, but outside of that, I've been your boy AG. Make sure y'all look up Combat Conversations. We on all the platforms. Make sure you like, subscribe, smash that bell. Make sure you get notifications when new episodes pop up. I've been your boy AG.
I'm your boy DB.
Holla at us. Peace.